Hello everybody to this hobby banter video. The first video hasn't gone out yet, so I'm not sure if this is going to be any type of success or appreciated or whatever. But I figured, I just already record part number 2 and just keep going for now. So today I'm going to be focusing on painting the edge highlights on these orc bikers. The sixth one is somewhere around here, but he's a bit further down the road already, so he's not joining the party today. So, got the paint on the palette. This is just as the tutorial I did on the Orc Big Mac and the Mega Knobs. It's 1 part magic blue, 1 part dead white. Clearly I used some more paint, but that's because we're gonna be painting for a little while, I suppose, on these guys. So I'm gonna add some matte medium. This will help prevent the paint from drying out really quickly, and I'm gonna add some thinner medium so that the paint actually is usable for edge highlighting. So over the past week I started feeling a little bit better. I still have some sort of like a sore throat, but they'll go away. The Christmas holiday is nearly over here, so the kids will be going back to school in a couple of days, and we had my mother over this past week, so she was here for New Year, but the day before New Year, our youngest daughter was taken to the hospital with a infection to the lungs. I once again forgot to look up how it's called in English. I think it's no, I'm not gonna guess and gamble and say something really stupid. I should actually just look it up. But doesn't really matter. She's home. She's really the antibiotics did their work. She's really feeling a lot better now. So yeah, that makes me feel a lot happier. So how I'm just asking, how has your New Year's Eve been? Hope you had a good one, and I hope you're gonna have a good year of hobby this year. Lots of painting and hobbying or doing whatever you like. I'm quickly going to just clean this brush a bit. There's a bit of old paint in there, and if I don't, there isn't going to be a lot of painting with this brush. So kind of going to be needing a tip to do some edge highlighting. I know a lot of people edge highlight with the side of the brush, which actually is a bit easier and a bit more forgiving. But yeah, for some reason I like to paint with the tip of the brush as well. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna get through all of these in the upcoming hour, but we'll see. As you also can see, there's a bunch of Tyranids and Grey Knights standing here. They won't be joining in on the fun today. I've been building those earlier today. So I'm pretty happy. Finished my Ultramarine kill team with all the Primaris Marines. If you watched the a studio vlog on Saturday. That should be out every Saturday. And I'm really gonna try and make that happen this year. That I'll make sure I get it out every week and not well, 3 out of 4. But yeah, the only reason why I see if disaster strikes, that's not possible. So I'm hoping that it will all go alright. I'm gonna get an air conditioner here. I'm sitting at the attic, so it's last year it got so incredibly hot up here that I really couldn't sit here, and I had to sit downstairs. So I took the painting stuff that I wanted to paint downstairs and painted downstairs a bit, but yeah, I can't take my light and my camera setup and everything downstairs, so that kind of like prevents me from recording videos. And also with the kids running around downstairs, it's not always a good place to sit to paint. But so air conditioner is high on the buy list for this year. I actually need the one I've already been painting on, so I think I'll just quickly go and grab it, so I can I'll first finish this, but I can see what I painted in this area and the other one as well. Yeah, like I said in the other videos, guilty pleasure models, these I'll be absolutely honest, I've always wanted to have an orc army. And to me it didn't really matter if it would have been fantasy or 40k. And I always like to play with horde-like armies. I think that's pretty clear by the way I built my Tyranids. Downside to horde armies obviously is that they take a long time to get done. But then again, that shouldn't stop you from doing it. However, it can turn you off quite clearly. So I've tried to get an orc army several times. The first time was 40k, and I think after like 5 models I already gave up. I just couldn't. It didn't work. I didn't like the colors I chose. Yeah, it just didn't work at that moment. So yeah, that army got scrapped. I don't have them anymore. I think I sold them or something. I don't know. It's we're talking a long time ago. So then years later, I tried again and again. After a couple of models, I already failed. So then I decided, well, let's not just. I think this was when this design of Warbikers came out, and I believe the Burner Boys were released then as well. But again, it didn't work. So again, no orc army for Dennis. And then a couple of years ago, I decided. I had taken a break from Warhammer, and I got back, and when I basically stopped playing, I was more or less more into fantasy than 40k. I started out doing 40k, and then I moved on to fantasy later on. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do a fantasy orc army. So I started it, and then it was completely made out of savage orcs. So no regular orcs. and everything else I used, it was made up out of savage orcs. So for example, I wanted an Ragnarok spider in there, and what I did was I got one of those Ogre Kingdom Thunder Tusks, and I converted that up, and instead of goblins or grots or whatever, there were all savage orcs on there, and that's the way I went on with that entire army. So I made an army list and I bought all of it, and then the news dropped that there would be a new edition. You kind of feel this coming, this one coming, and yeah, that new edition appeared to be Age of Sigmar. So I normally, when new stuff is coming out, I'm not all over the internet and reading and such. So I just figured, you know what, I'll just order that starter set and then go from there. And all I heard thus far was that the bases were going to be changing to round bases, and I figured, you know, that's okay, because yeah, round bases just look better, in my opinion. That is, you don't have to agree with me, obviously. So that happened, and I remember very well that I opened that starter box, and I went straight in looking for the rulebook. Yeah, and boy was I wrong. I didn't know there wasn't a rulebook. It was non-existent in Age of Sigmar. Because, yeah, 2 sides of paper isn't the rulebook, obviously. So that kinda put me off, and once again I didn't make it to paint an orc army. So I still have them, all the savage orcs, so I technically could still one day make that army. Nowadays I should be calling them bone splitters, no, shouldn't I? So maybe I will, I'm not sure yet. I'd first have to rebase all of them, and they're not even all finished painting wise. So maybe one day, I don't know, we'll see. So, but that got me back into playing 40k. So, and then last year when I painted Big Mac for the painting tutorial, I had so much fun painting that model. In the meantime, I got pretty used to the fact that you know, armies don't have to be finished in a week. Well, you can if you want to, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So after painting that one and then picking up the Speed Freak box, I figured, you know, if I paint this and I have the 2 Mega Knobs and the Big Mac, and then I might just as well paint a couple of regular dudes as well, and make a kill team out of it, and then go from there, and just take my time with it. No rush. It's okay if it's finished in 2028 or whatever, you know, doesn't really matter. So I just bought a couple of boxes. I bought some Burner Boys and I bought regular boys, and you know, every time I open a crate with stuff here in the house, there's orcs in there. So apparently I've bought a lot of orcs over the time, but when I bought a box of the Gretchen as well, the Grots. So there's apparently there's quite some orcs lying around the house. But maybe this time, if I just every now and then paint a bit on them and just make sure they are fun to do. And well, painting is always fun in my opinion, but maybe I'll manage to one day get this to an entire army. I like the colors, that's for sure. When these guys are done, I like how they look. This is fairly important for me. And yeah, I think when the Speed Freak box is done and I have a kill team painted up, I actually get to play a bit with them without first having to paint like 5 million more. And on top of that, I have my Tyranid army to be that already is pretty big as well. So I have armies to play with, so there's not really that much of pressure to have them finished quickly. I think that might help a fair bit in the chances of success for this orc army. Now, as you can see, this is going to take like a bit of time. Edge highlighting is something really weird in my opinion. It's something that, no matter how often I've done it, it's always something that I don't want to do. And once I'm on it, it's all not that bad. And it goes pretty quick, and it's also a high impact thing you're doing to your models. It's very rewarding because the model really looks a whole lot better after. So I'm actually hoping I can keep this talking up because, well, like I said in the previous one, this is to motivate you, and once again I'm going to say I'm heavily inspired by Mini Warzone, Pete from Mini Warzone. I watched a couple of his on the bench videos and I really like that. When he puts one out, I'll turn them on whilst painting, and it really motivates me. No, it's not so much motivation. It's just it makes painting more fun. Now, I always think painting is fun. Clearly, this is quite an easy video to do because all I need to make sure of is that I keep talking to you guys, not to the camera or not to the models. That would be kind of stupid. And something that I like to do is keep the model at arm's length and look at it, and then you'll get a nice visualization of how it's gonna look on the table. I'm gonna have to blow my nose, so excuse me. So somebody walked in. I don't know what I was talking about. So just gonna continue on these guys, and then tomorrow I'll build a Grey Knight kill team. Now I've already learned my lesson with kill team as far as building and painting models goes. With the Necrons, I started off with a couple of warriors and a couple of Tesla immortals. And then I felt I was lacking combat options, so I then had to paint flayed ones. And when I had the flayed ones done, I felt I was lacking something else, so I added dead marks. And when now I have the dead marks done and played a couple of games with those, I still feel I'm lacking something. So now I want Gauss Immortals as well for the -2 AP value on those weapons. So the Grey Knights, the team will never be bigger than 5 guys. I'm not gonna paint a character for them. Don't want that in that team. The team already is gonna be small, and with the character it's gonna be even smaller because the only character they have available to them is over 100 points. So that would mean even with a character, it's only going to be a 5-man team ever. So either one of the guys is going to stand in as a character, or no character. There's more than enough scenarios to play without characters anyway, and you can there's also scenarios where only one of the teams gets a character and the other team doesn't. So I believe this is more into the narrative side of the kill team gaming, but yeah, and we don't really Igor and me, we don't really care if we play narrative or matched. I think I can safely say we both prefer narrative far more than matched play. Or so that we don't enjoy match play, but we don't need to have these really powerful armies. Although I have to admit that back in 3rd and 4th edition I was quite a power gamer. And that all changed at a certain point. I remember very, very well. We went to a tournament, just a small local tournament, and the time before the previous tournament there, we were there with some of our club members as well, and not everybody in our club was focused on trying to win very hard, or so there were casual gamers and there were a couple of more tournament-minded players, and so the first time we went, I won that tournament, and I took my Noise Marines to that tournament back then. Back then, when I still had a Noise Marine army, I should have never sold it, but yeah, that happened. So, so the second time we went, I took my Tyranids, which was my preferred army actually, and also felt like that was the best army I had. Also most suitable to my play style, and so the first time I didn't get all the points because I think I didn't completely finished painting that entire army yet. That's actually something nowadays I will never do again. To a tournament I'll take everything painted. But that time I didn't have everything painted. Back then, Noise Chaos on itself was a very nasty codex, by the way. So, and I managed to not win all the games. I had one draw and 3 massacres, I suppose. And the massacre was a 20-0. So I'm not sure with how many points exactly I ended that day, but yeah, I won the tournament. But so a couple of months later, they ran another one, and they invited us back, and I took my Tyranids. Well, I have to say, by the way, that the first tournament, the draw was against my own Tyranids, which a buddy of mine was playing. So, we went back, and that time I did take my Tyranids, and yeah, basically it was a 3-game tournament on one day. I don't know exactly the amount of points anymore, but it basically went massacre, and yeah, I really felt bad for my opponents at that moment, and there it really changed. The last opponent didn't feel bad for. I massacred him as well. As a matter of fact, he got to start turn 1, and when he was done with his turn 1, I shook his hand. I congratulated him because I told him I was going to massacre him in 2 or 3 turns, and I did just that. Because he did basically everything wrong that he could do wrong, and I just punished him on that. But even though I don't want to play that way anymore, I still do feel that that's how you should be playing on a tournament. Unless it's ITC nowadays, but that's a different story. Let's not go into that. So, yeah, I won. I got all the points. The gap to the number 2 was, I think, around 30 points. So, even if that person would have gotten an extra game, he couldn't even win the tournament. So I walked outside of the venue, and I figured, yeah, well, this is totally wrong. I just ruined people's day here today, and I didn't even have fun doing it. You know, not that I'm in general the guy that has fun ruining other people's day, but I didn't. It wasn't a challenge. I didn't like it. I didn't want that. So went back home. Talked to a couple of club buddies about Warhammer Fantasy. This is actually the moment where I started Warhammer Fantasy. And I had only one demand on the army that I was going to play. It had to be the most unreliable army there was. So they advised me on either orcs or beastmen, but one of my friends already was playing orcs. So right then and there I started a beastman army. And I learned so much with that army. Not so much as a player. Well, I think I actually became a better player because of that army. But the army lacked so much. It couldn't do squat. It really. And I'm talking for all of you old school fantasy players out there. I mean the skirmish Prey Herd Beastman army book. So they were seriously terrible. I hardly ever won any game. I learned that losing isn't a bad thing. And in the meantime, right now, I'm at a point where I say, you know, I'd rather lose a game bottom of turn 7 that's insanely close than wrap a game up in turn 2 and yeah, walk away winning. But with exactly what? What did you win? If you have to fight for it until turn 7, you really had a good close game. And if you walk away with it in turn 2, that means something is very wrong. And I also nowadays enjoy weird narrative scenarios far more than just trying to win. Even playing scenarios that you can't win can be great fun to play. So yeah, that kind of like changed me, and maybe me being me back then also made sure I could never finish an orc army. So I'm checking We're at like half an hour. I think I'm doing okay. Let me know if you think I'm not doing okay. Let's see, I'm gonna need to grab the other bike quickly. I need to see how I painted this foot pedal thingy. Where is it? So I think you can still hear me if I talk while I walk here, so I'll be damn happy if this cold's over. Well, that's metal, so I don't have to bother. I'm going to paint more blue on here. I can do a bit more here. And actually, I'm looking forward to record some Speed Freak game videos. I'm not gonna call them battle reports because I can't take this game serious. It's such a ridiculous game. And with ridiculous, I mean a huge amount of fun. So that's gonna be a belt. Again. Metal, some gold, some bronze. This edge. This is also a good reason to paint one model ahead, so you have one example model to follow. He's not finished, clearly, but he's far enough ahead that I can now use him as a guideline to paint the other guys. And that's kind of helpful. Yeah. So I can make this one blue. So I'm already pretty convinced I'm not gonna do all 5 of them this hour, but that's okay. So if you have any subjects for me to talk on during these videos, then just feel free to post them down below, and I'll in the future try and go over them, the subjects clearly, and see what I can talk about a bit. I think this one's good. So that's one. Let's do a knob, because then I'll have 3, which always looks better than just the 1 or the 2. Well, guess what? 6 would be looking best. So for the upcoming week I will be working on the Grey Knight kill team and building tons of Tyranids. So I have to build quite some. So and yeah, I really do not like I do not like building models. It's my least favorite part of the hobby. In the upcoming time I will be attempting to do a new paint along. If you have watched some Q&As, you might have heard that Igor isn't a really big fan of painting, and that's okay. I mean, it's, you know, he has his thing, you have your thing, I have my thing. Like I say, I'm not a big fan of building models. Um, but he happens to have Mortarion, and I want to paint a Mortarion, but I don't really want to spend the money on it. So I'm gonna paint his Mortarion for him. So I figured I might just make that a paint along, because it's an interesting model. And I did a couple last year on the Imperial Fist, but I never finished it because I don't really know. I think at that stage I wasn't super comfortable in filming this way. And in the meantime I've shot several shorter videos this way, and also a couple of longer videos this way, so I am starting to feel more comfortable. I just need to make sure that I keep talking and not get all quiet, because that's not the meaning of the videos. Clearly a paint along would be more zoomed in. I think you can see what I'm doing pretty well, but it's not in extreme close-up. Like a tutorial, but this isn't meant to be a tutorial. This is just meant to keep you company whilst you are painting your stuff. And just like last week, what I said last week, I'd really like to hear what you've been painting whilst listening to me rambling, because if you're watching, you're not painting. But still, if you just wanna, if you think, man, that guy's boring, I'm gonna put him, I'm gonna listen to him if I need to fall asleep, just do that. Yes, whatever makes you happy. And if you don't like this, let me know as well. I can't guarantee I'll quit doing this, but I can suggest that you don't watch any future episodes, I suppose. So, next to building my Tyranids, I'll also be building some more Necrons over the upcoming week. But I'm gonna hold back on painting them for a couple more weeks. Well, I might just prime them already, but and get the first coat on. But you know, that's gonna be just a quick airbrush coat, so might just as well not do that. Because in the end of January it's my birthday, and I'll be. I convinced my wife that I really needed that Seraptic heavy construct. So I can then nicely paint, well, not paint all of it at once, but do all the airbrushing at once. I really like to, I prefer when I work on armies to just get the entire army and do all the airbrushing as well at once. No particular reason. Maybe just laziness for cleaning the airbrush, or which reminds me that I still need to make an airbrush maintenance video as well. Maybe I should do that this week as well. But at the moment, the way the channel is evolving, I'm very happy with it. Like I said before, I don't need to. I'm not relying on it to become a day job or whatever. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't really care. I'm not counting on it. So I am, however, this year going to start a Patreon. This has to do with opening up options to perhaps do more battle reports. Since both Igor and me have to travel to the location where we record the battle reports, that's actually what makes it expensive. No, it's not. It's not super expensive or whatever, but that's what makes sure we're not recording more. Let's put it like that. So, if we could get a way of covering the expenses for the traveling, we might be able to record weekly instead of bi-weekly, and then put out more battle reports, also more games. But that's, not right now. In a while. Over the past couple of months, all the views have gone up. The watch time has gone up. So the watch time per video has gone up. So I'm very happy with all those results. And I'm having a lot of fun making the videos and interacting with everybody who responds to the videos, as long as it's constructive comments, obviously. So looking forward to do a lot more this year, and maybe if a series like this one is successful, or maybe even if it isn't, and I just like making it, I'll keep making it. The Q&A from now on we will do with the two of us, because I had far more fun recording it with Igor next to my side, having some talks with Igor as well, than doing it by myself on my own, just late in the evening. And so we'll keep that with the two of us. No, he wears some kind of helmet. And then there's this huge axe. So let's do the orc himself first. So let's see, what can I talk about now? Gadgets and stuff. So my wife bought I don't know, what's it called, a Google Home. One of those new devices that you can talk to, and then it can turn on the lights, turn off the lights, play music, whatever. And normally I'm not that interested in gadgets and stuff. Every other year I get a new phone, and it arrives, and I'll just throw it in a corner, and it will lie there for 5 days, and then I'll open the box, because I don't care. I'm not into that kind of stuff. My wife, however, is. She really likes that, and so a couple of weeks ago she came home. She went to town, and she said, I noticed, I saw this, but she never really buys something for herself. I always buy figures for myself. And then she goes, didn't you already have enough? I said, no, I never have enough. So you're asking the wrong questions here. So nowadays she asks, do you really need that? And then I say, no, but I wanted it. And then she says, okay. So she came home, and she said, I saw this Google Home thing, and this and that. I said, so you bought one? No, I didn't. I said, why not? Yeah, it's pretty expensive, and I said, you never buy something for yourself. Just go buy it. Treat yourself. Be good for yourself. You need to do that. You need to make yourself happy. And so a couple of days later, she announced she bought it. So and I was like, well, I don't care, because normally I don't care, and about that kind of crap. And so it arrived, and she showed it to me, and I said, yeah, well, that's all nice, and she put it out, and she played music on it, and then I started to think, that's actually a pretty cool thing. And then she said, well, you can buy, you can get extra functions with it, so that it can turn on and off the lights, and turn on and off the television, and so that got me kind of enthusiastic. And then she told, there's also a miniature version that you can connect them to each other, so that you can talk to each other through it. And then I said, well, that would be very handy to have upstairs in my painting studio right here. Well, it's not really a painting studio, it's just a desk. And so I have one of the small ones standing right here. I clearly can't turn it on, because I can't play any type of music on YouTube, because the artist would get angry at me, unfortunately. And yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that. It's just, it's not fair, They work hard, and they should get paid for it. It's the same thing as buying knockoff models, basically. Which, if you do, that's up to you. I don't judge anybody who does that. But that's a different matter. Maybe it's a nice thing to talk about in the next episode. Knockoff models and my thought on that. I think we are at around an hour. I'm not completely sure, but I think we are. So I'm going to end this video. I had to interrupt the camera a couple of times because somebody walked in, and I had to clean my nose, which I didn't want to entertain you or offend you with. Just up to you how you filled that one in. So again, let me know if you like this video. Let me also know if you have been painting over the past I think an hour, what you've been painting. I'm very interested in hearing that. And if you want to show me some pictures, absolutely feel free to photograph your models and email them to me, because I'd like to see. This is always a one-way traffic, this YouTube happening, and it's always me showing you what I'm doing, whereas I actually am really interested in seeing what you yourself are doing. And I've actually been thinking of making a video series about the viewers' models. So you take pictures, you send them over to me by email, and I make a video out of it, just like once a month or something. Maybe share your thoughts on that idea with me. I'm not sure if I should do that, because it, on the other hand, seems like a cheeky way to make a video with somebody else's models. That's basically the thing that holds me back on doing it. But I'm gonna leave it at this for this video, and I'll be recording another one soon, hopefully with more orcs, but then all edge highlighted. So guys, thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye bye.